from 2014, what we are today, the restaurant's very different. It's evolved like a human being. If you see a kid 6-7 years ago, he's no longer a kid. Cuca's no longer a kid. It's changed a lot. I mean, the lounge is brand new. The outdoor area did not exist. The food is there's some item on the menu that's same, but a lot of it has changed because we are very close with our customer. So we see the guest. I'm here. I am not, at my home playing video games. We are here. So when we start to see the guests and we start to talk to the customers, example, if we get many people from Surabaya, we go Surabaya. We eat Surabaya. We start to eat the traditional food. What is special? What people like about this food? If we find it's chili or coconut or smoky or charcoal flavor, we incorporate these flavors into Cuca. So we can always become more better for the people that come to the restaurant. You have to. If you don't get better in a restaurant, say it differently. Yeah, if you're not getting better in a restaurant, you're staying the same. And there's no such thing as staying the same in a restaurant. You're actually getting worse. So it starts with the idea of my dream is to have a business, to have a restaurant one day. Where and what kind, I don't know. And when I was working now for 13 years in Asia, so I moved to Asia and I was working with hotels and running restaurants and kitchens. I never lose this dream. And I keep talking to my wife, trying to convince her, what if we open up a restaurant? What if we do this together? Because everything she do, I cannot do. And she cannot cook. So it's quite a good puzzle to fit. And finally we decide, okay, let's try. And we come to Bali. We arrived in Bali 7 years ago with 2 suitcases, no transport, no house, no accommodation, no restaurant, no land, no idea of what it's Bali, but a big idea of we would love to have a business in Bali. And we start from zero, finding the land, hiring the team, building a building, organizing the menu, the concept, what it is that we want to do, right? And eventually slowly start putting the pieces in place like a big puzzle until eventually we ended up with Cuca. There's Cuca today and Cuca 6 years ago. We're almost now 6 years open. It's a very different business. You imagine when you have a baby, your baby 6 years from the day it's born is no longer a baby. So Cuca is no longer a baby. Cuca is, it's like a teenager now. It has evolved like it should. We always keep an eye on who our customers are, who's coming to Cuca, what things people love, so we can do more of that. If we start getting a lot more families, we realize we have to start doing more for children. If we get no families, we realize this is an opportunity for us to focus a lot more on couples and the opportunity that presents itself. So the restaurant's always evolving, always changing, always becoming just a little bit better every single day. Our concept is every day just 1% better. So that's kind of Cuca. When we opened, was very young. We didn't know who was our guest. We didn't know who we were. We knew what we wanted to be, but we didn't know really who would come to the restaurant. And so slowly, we started to become more of what we are today, which is a very different restaurant.
Amazing. So getting better day by day.
Crucial.
Amazing. Yeah. And I understand that you keep on evolving, but by evolving, how do you want people to see Noma's food? How you want to show that this is cool?
Yeah. So to be edition Cuca is something that we are very clear with the philosophy of the restaurant. One of the challenges of Cuca is we are not Japanese, we are not Chinese, we are not Mexican. How to explain what is Cuca is very difficult. We might have a dish on the menu that's Italian with its beginning, or we might have a dish inspired by a Japanese dish, or we might have a dish inspired by a Mexican dish, but we are not a Mexican restaurant. So Cuca has a very big challenge, is the food we serve is very difficult to fit into a bracket. How to explain Cuca? How to explain the octopus dish? What would that be for you? Is it French? Is it Mexican? Is it Italian? It's Cuca. It's Cuca. What we do and what the dishes are in Cuca is very important. We always start with something we have eaten in some country that really touch us. You know, in Surabaya, one of the last things we eat that we love was satay kalapa. And it's very different because in Bali they don't use the coconut inside of the satay so often. And even if you have the satay lelit, it doesn't have that same feeling of that kind of charred, smoky coconut with the delicious meat. So when we eat these things, immediately we think, that's delicious. And once we identify something delicious, that's when it starts the work for Cuca. Why is it delicious? And we start to write down. Is it the charcoal? Is it the incorporation of the coconut that gives you that nuttiness? You know, is the coconut giving you that oil, that richness, so that it's not just eating meat? And we start to write down why. Those whys will then begin the creative process for developing a new dish in Cuca. So we will not, the dish in Cuca, maybe it's not even a satay, but it's inspired by that experience. So your octopus is inspired by a trip we had in Greece. Correct. Your soft shell crab is inspired by the way they serve soft shell crab in the South, in the States. You know, in places like New Orleans, where you get that crispy soft shell crab. And what we've tried to do is using local ingredients, because Cuca only uses Indonesian ingredients. If it doesn't come from Indonesia, we don't touch it. It's very unique for a Western restaurant.
Right.
So what we do is eat something that's delicious, understand why it's delicious, and use those whys to create new dishes in Cuca with very traditional, unique local ingredients. This is very important. What makes Cuca special? Every dish you eat in Cuca, you cannot get anywhere else. You cannot. You might have had octopus before, but not like that. Not with that sauce, not with green apple, not with roasted cauliflower, and not with cilantro. But you've had octopus, yeah? Many people have had octopus, but not like that. And that's Cuca. Every dish you eat here, if you want again, you have to come back.
Correct.
And when you come back, we are waiting for you.
Acara ini dipersembahkan oleh Glam Society dan Merdeka 106,7 FM. Follow us at Merdeka FM.